Hello and welcome to this webinar of the yearly new regulations from OEKO-TEX this year for 2021. My name is Jonathan Verley. I am the product manager of the ECO Passport certification. Today we will be looking at all of our different kinds of labeling and certification options and what new rules and regulations will be applied in 2021. For the most part, these will be applied as of the 1st of April, unless otherwise stated during this webinar. First, we want to start with a kind of a global change. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we've had some restrictions on in-person audits. So these have been difficult to conduct due to our own OEKO-TEX policies, travel restrictions, the social distancing programs, and different regional, national, and company regulations and policies. So in order to temporarily manage this situation, we have implemented virtual audits and virtual on-site visits that can be conducted for all OEKO-TEX certifications. Now, this will be only a temporary solution until regular visits are viable again. OEKO-TEX has been working together with ZDHC and other stakeholders to set up a guidance for virtual audits. A little bit special is our STEP certification, because it's the one most heavily focusing on auditing production sites, which is why new customers for STEP, for them, there is a special regulations to have remote guided audit performed for their initial certification, but more on that later. Because first I want to talk about Made in Green by OEKO-TEX. There have been some updates to the Made in Green standard. For one, we now have for criteria 3 and the requirements, rubber and cardboard are no longer considered. For the B2B requirements, traders and converters are excluded from the STEP criteria. This because the STEP criteria are for production, and that is not what a trader or converter usually would be doing. Also, there is a new article definition, name, description, and components for production facilities should add at least 3 components. And these are all regulations or changes that will come into effect as of the 1st of April. But what we can already see since the new standard came out in January is for one, a implementation example for diapers, which was asked for, then new definitions for the terms article, article group, production, and product and product line. And there is now a reference to the OEKO-TEX Code of Conduct in the Annex Roman 2 of the Made in Green standard. And for that matter, the Code of Conduct reference has been added to all of the different standards from OEKO-TEX. There have also been some new updates for the label check. First of all is now that we can show the display of an article's colors. Then there is a change of the display icon. For example, from single facility icon, we can now show the spinning facility icon as shown in the bottom left. And in a vertical facility, we can now display all production steps when clicking on the icon, as can be seen on the bottom left as well. Then there are also some new features in the My OEKO-TEX system, mainly for the leather standard. So leather standard certificates are now displayed in the product overview and can be selected for an article definition, and leather suppliers can now be added by the leather standard certificates and company name. And with that, I will be moving on to the standard 100 of OEKO-TEX, where there have been the most new changes in regulations. So first of all, PFOA has general, what we are looking for when we're testing for PFOA has now been extended to the sum of PFOA and its salt. And the limit value has changed as well. We used to have a value that was microgram per square meter, which has now changed to milligram per kilogram. And the limit value we have now is 0.025 milligrams per kilogram. PFOA related substances were put under observation last year, and during that time we've had several we have had enough time to research these related substances, and we have now set a limit value of 1 milligram per kilogram for those. Now, these changes are not ones that will be in effect as of the 1st of April. These were actually already put into effect in September 2020, but we believe that it's important to reiterate this. Next is that we have added a new footnote to the Standard 100 Annex 4 and 6 regarding pH values. An exception has been made for film materials with incorporated calcium bicarbonate or calcium carbonate or talc, which do not have direct skin contact. And this is a range from 4 to 10. As you're probably aware, we have added a recycled certificate for the Standard 100, but due to the special challenges posed by the recycled material, we had to implement a special set of rules. First of all, there has to be some kind of minimum amount of recycled content within the textile. So 20% of the main textile component has to be recycled. There are different testing programs depending on the origin of the material. And we do require additional background information since recycling is about where did it come from. Additionally, a hang tag that is issued can be used to further inform the customers on the recycling effort that were put into the product. Now I want to talk a little bit about new regulations that affect the Standard 100 as well as the leather standard. For one, the limit value of BPA has changed from 1,000 milligram per kilogram or 0.1 weight percentage to now lower 100 milligrams per kilogram. This is in effect for the Annex 4 and 6 of the Standard 100 as well as the leather standard. And then, as mentioned before, we now have a reference to the OEKO-TEX Code of Conduct which can be found in all of the standards of all OEKO-TEX products, including Standard 100 and the leather standard. And I just want to say that it's also for STEP and Eco-Passport, which we will be talking about later. Then next, a limit value for the total content of cadmium and extractable lead content in accessories made from glass has been introduced. So a new footnote for accessories made from glass has been set at 0.1 weight percentage. Now we come to some of the new regulations that are for the leather standard. First one that looks a little bit similar to what we already discussed in Standard 100 regarding PFOA and PFCs. So first of all, PFOS and PFOSA, there the unit has changed from a surface-based unit, micrograms per square meters, to a weight-based unit, milligrams per kilogram. And similar or the same as for Standard 100, the PFOA has been extended to PFOA and its salts. Well, we're looking at the sum thereof, and the limit is now 0.025 milligrams per kilogram. Additionally, the PFOA related substances which were previously under observation are now set at 1 milligram per kilogram. And same as for the standard 100. These changes were actually introduced in September 2020. Some new definitions have been added as well to the leather standard, mainly concerning leathers and furs and the difference thereof, and they can be found in the sections 4.5 and 4.6 for those who are interested. Also, we now have a new whitelist publication of the standard, so it has been updated and extended, and is now published in sections 2 of the standard. And lastly, for the leather standard, we now have specific requirements for mentioning chrome and metal-free tanned leather, which means if the applicant wants to have the terms chrome-free leather or chrome-free tanned leather or metal-free tanned leather mentioned in the scope of their certificate, they have to meet certain requirements. They have to be able to meet the requirements of the ISO norms seen down below here. And there are additional lab tests that have to be performed as for proof according to the limit values, which can be found in Annex 6 of the leather standard. And with that, we come to STEP. As promised before, we'll be talking about the virtual audits first for a bit. So what is new here? An exceptional audit procedure for STEP customers has been implemented only in the case of travel restrictions. So if there are no travel restrictions on the place where the manufacturing is to be done, then a normal audit will be conducted. And there is a different audit procedure which applies depending on the status of the customer. For anyone who is applying, you will receive detailed information by the corresponding institute. Also, the STEP auditors themselves still need to evaluate if a virtual audit is appropriate or even doable to ensure that they are compliant with the STEP standard. And talking about the STEP standard, there have been some updates there. First of all, the STEP team has participated in the ZDHC air emission task team. ZDHC stands for Zero Discharge of Hazardous Chemicals. And similar to OEKO-TEX, they also have a MRSL list where they try to find different kinds of harmful chemicals in textiles and textile chemicals. And as a result of this teamwork, it is the first ZDHC air emission white paper has been published just recently. Also, as a result to harmonize standards in OEKO-TEX, it was decided to have more strict limits for SO2 for solid and liquid fuel. Also, there is a new MRSL compound, which is titanium dioxide, which is dangerous for workers if they inhale small particles thereof during the textile dyeing process. We therefore decided to add titanium dioxide for particles of respirable size to the group 14 of the STEP MRSL. And there have been some updates to the STEP assessment. We now have 411 questions in total regarding textile and leather. 2 questions have been deleted or consolidated, and we have added 10 new questions regarding greenhouse gases, safety in and around wastewater treatment plants, then awareness regarding living wages, and due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have added some questions about epidemics and pandemics. And now, last but not least, we come to the Eco Passport, where we have changed or added a new regulation due to we want compliance with REACH legislation and substances of very high concern. Here we are looking at diisocyanates, which we have added as under observation to the ECO-Passport, and for this year we will be conducting REACH search to see if how we can determine its presence when looking for it in the lab, how dangerous they are, how often they can be found, and what kind of threshold or limit value we should set for 2022. Then, similar as with STEP, we have also added titanium dioxide, which is dangerous for workers, to our ECO-Passport restricted substance list, but only for substances, particles of respirable size. And with that, we have come through all of our changes, all of our new regulations. As stated before, these will come into effect as of the 1st of April, unless this was otherwise stated during this presentation. Thank you very much, and goodbye.